We're back with part 4 of The Power of Habit, why we do what we do in life and business. If you guys are just now tuning in for the first time, we're on this section of the book. And actually, last time we left off right there. Now in that video, we ended up not reading for 30 minutes the following day, the day being September the 29th. So we've been reading for 30 minutes or an hour every day, and the 29th was the only day we missed. So today's the 30th, and today's the 30th, and we usually do like a morning walk on the beach. And, you know, we're just going to read and record and try to not miss another day, feel me? But like I said, with everything, we'll be candid, open, and honest. And without further ado, here's that book again. Ready? Mm-hmm. I'm going to be in the water, walking backwards. Are you going to be in the water? We could both be in the water.
I'm just going over here.
Okay. You're walking backwards, right?
No.
The laboratory belonging to William Schultz, a professor of neuroscience at the University of Chicago. The laboratory belonging to Wolfram Schultz, a professor of neuroscience at the University of Cambridge, is not a pretty place. His desk has been alternately described by colleagues as a black hole where documents are lost forever, and a petri dish where organisms can grow undisturbed in wild proliferation for years. When Schultz needs to clean something, which is uncommon, he doesn't use sprays or cleaners. He wets a paper towel and wipes. Hard. If his clothes smell like smoke or cat hair, he doesn't notice or care. However, the experiments that Schultz has conducted over the past 20 years have revolutionized our understanding of how cues, rewards, and habits interact. He's explained why some cues and rewards have more power than others, and has provided a scientific roadmap that explains why Pepsodent was a hit, how some dieters and exercise buffs managed to change their habits so quickly, and in the end, what it took to make Febreze sell. In the 1980s, Schultz was part of a group of scientists studying the brains of monkeys as they learned to perform tasks such as pulling on levers or opening tasks. Their goal was to figure out which parts of the brain were responsible for new actions. One day I noticed this thing that is interesting to me, Schultz told me. He was born in Germany and now he speaks English. Sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, or a member of the Royal Society. A few of the monkeys we watched love apple juice, and the other monkeys love grape juice. And so I began to wonder, what is going inside those little monkeys' heads? Why do different rewards affect the brain in different ways? Schultz began a series of experiments to decipher how rewards work on a neurochemical level. As technology progressed, he gained access in the 1990s to devices similar to those used by researchers at MIT. Rather than rats, however, Schultz was interested in the monkeys just like Julio, an 8-pound Mac with hazel eyes who had very thin electrodes inserted into his brain that allowed Schultz to observe the neural activity as it occurred. One day, Schultz positioned Julio on a chair in a dimly lit room and turned on a computer monitor. Julio's job was to touch a lever whenever color shapes, small yellow spirals, red squiggles, blue lines appeared on the screen. If Julio touched the lever when a shape appeared, a drop of blackberry juice would run down the tube, hanging from the ceiling and onto the monkey's lips. Julio liked the blackberry juice. At first, Julio was only mildly interested in what was happening on the screen. He spent most of his time trying to squirm out of the chair, but once the first dose of juice arrived, Julio became very focused on the monitor. As the monkey became to understand through dozens of repetitions that the shapes on the screen were a cue for a routine, touched the lever that resulted in a reward, blackberry juice. He started staring at the screen with laser-like intensity. He didn't squirm when a yellow squiggle appeared. He went for the letter. When a blue line flashed, he pounced. And when the juice arrived, Julio would lick his lips contentedly. As Schultz monitored the activity within Julio's brain, he saw a pattern emerge. Whenever Julio received his reward, his brain activity would spike in a manner that suggested he was experiencing happiness. A transcript of that neurological activity shows what it looks like when a monkey brain says, in essence, I got a reward. When Schultz took Julio through the same experiment again and again, recording the neurological response each time. Whenever Julio received his juice, I got a reward pattern appeared on the computer. Whenever Julio received this juice, the I got a reward pattern appeared on the computer attached to the probe in the monkey's head. Gradually, from a neurological perspective, Julio's behavior became a habit. What was most interesting to Schultz, however, was how things changed as the experiment proceeded. As the monkey became more and more practiced at the behavior, the habit became stronger and stronger. That's pretty cool. Guys, look at this. Wait, put it this way. You got turned. Like in the sun. Come this way. There you go. Yeah, it's fire. Whatever it is. What is it?
I don't know.
It looks cool. Oh, shit.
What?
Got my book wet.
I did?
It's okay.
It's already dry, right?
Yeah, it should be on.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. What was most interesting to Schultz, however, was how things changed as the experiment proceeded. As the monkey became more and more practiced at the behavior, the habit became stronger and stronger. Julio's brain began anticipating the blackberry juice, and stronger, Julio's brain began anticipating the blackberry juice. Schultz's probe started recording the I got a reward pattern the instant Julio saw the shapes on the screen before the juice arrived. Now Julio's reward response occurs before the juice arrives. In other words, the shapes on the monitor had become a cue, not just for pulling the lever, but also for a pleasure response inside the monkey's brain. Julio started experiencing his reward as soon as he saw the yellow spirals and red squiggles. Then Schultz adjusted the experiment. Previously, Julio had received the juice as soon as he touched the lever. Now, sometimes the juice didn't arrive at all, even if Julio performed correctly, or it would arrive after a slight delay, or it would be watered down until it was only half as sweet. When the juice didn't arrive, let's go, guys. When the juice didn't arrive or was late or diluted, Julio would get angry and make Julio would get angry and make unhappy noises or become mopey. And within Julio's brain, Schultz watched a new pattern emerge: craving. When Julio anticipated juice but didn't receive it, a neurological pattern associated with desire and frustration erupted inside his skull. When Julio saw the cue, he started anticipating the juice-fueled joy. But if the juice didn't arrive, that joy became a craving that, if unsatisfied, drove Julio to anger or depression. Researchers in other labs have found similar patterns. Other monkeys were trained to anticipate the juice whenever they saw a shape. Whenever they saw a shape on the screen. Then researchers tried to distract them. Researchers in other labs have found similar patterns. Other monkeys were trained to anticipate juice whenever they saw a shape on the screen. Then researchers tried to distract them. They opened the lab's doors so the monkeys could go outside and play with their friends. They put food in the corner so the monkeys could eat if they abandoned the experiment. For those monkeys who hadn't developed a strong habit, the distractions worked. They slid out of their chairs, left the room, and never looked back. They hadn't learned to crave the juice For those monkeys who hadn't developed a strong habit, the distractions worked. They slid out of their chairs, left the room, and never looked back. They hadn't learned to crave the juice. However, once a monkey had developed a habit, once his brain anticipated a reward, the distractions held no allure. The animal would sit there, watching the monitor and pressing the lever over and over again, regardless of the offer of food or the opportunity to go outside. The monkeys stayed glued to their screens the same way a gambler will play slots long after he's lost his winnings. This explains why habits are so powerful. They create neurological cravings. Most of the time, neurological cravings. Most of the time, those cravings emerge so gradually that they were not really. Most of the time, those cravings arrive so gradually that we're not really aware they exist. So we often blind to their influence. But as we associate cues with certain rewards, a subconscious craving emerges in our brains that starts the habit loop spinning. One researcher at Cornell, for instance, found how powerfully food and scent cravings can affect behavior when he noticed how Cinnabon stores are positioned inside shopping malls. Most food sellers locate their kiosks in food courts, but Cinnabon tries to locate their stores away from other food stalls. Why? Because Cinnabon executives want the smell of cinnamon rolls to waft down hallways and around corners uninterrupted, so that shoppers will start subconsciously craving a roll. Thank you. Craving a roll. By the time a consumer turns the corner and sees a cinnamon bun store, that craving is a wrong monster inside his head, and he'll reach unthinkably for his wallet. The habit loop is spinning because a sense of craving has emerged. There is nothing programmed into our brains that makes us see a box of donuts and automatically want a sugary treat, Schultz told me. But once our brain learns that a donut box contains yummy sugar and other carbohydrates, it will start anticipating the sugar high. Our brains will push us toward the box, then if we don't eat the donut, we'll feel disappointed. To understand this process, consider how Julio's habit emerged. First, he saw a shape on the screen, Q. Over time, Julio learned that the appearance of the shape meant that it was time to execute a routine, so he touched the lever. As a result, Julio received a drop of blackberry juice. Reward. That's basic learning. The habit only emerges once Julio begins craving the juice when he sees the cue. Okay. That's basic learning. The habit only emerges once Julio begins craving the juice when he sees the cue. Once that craving exists, Julio will act automatically. He'll follow the habit. This is how new habits are created. By putting together a cue, a routine, and a reward. And then cultivating a craving that drives the loop. Take, for instance, smoking. When a smoker sees a cue, say a pack of Marlboros, her brain starts anticipating a hit of nicotine. Just the sight of cigarettes is enough for the brain to crave a nicotine rush. If it doesn't arrive, the craving grows until the smoker reaches unthinkingly for a Marlboro. Or take email. When a computer chimes or a smartphone vibrates with a new message, the brain starts anticipating the momentary distraction that opening an email provides. That expectation, if unsatisfied, can build until the meeting is filled with, it's good, bro. Executives checking their buzzing blackberries under the table, even if they know it's probably only their latest fantasy football results. On the other hand, if someone disables the buzzing and thus removes the cue, people can work for hours without thinking to check their inboxes. Scientists have studied the brains of alcoholics, smokers, and overeaters, and have measured how their neurology, the structure of their brains, and the flow of neurochemicals inside their skulls changes as their cravings become ingrained. Nice.
Two.
Huh?
Two.
That's one. We went down and back. That's the first one.
This is so.
Scientists have studied the brains of alcoholics, smokers, and overeaters, and have measured how their neurology, the structure of their brains, and the flow of neurochemicals inside their skulls changes as their cravings become ingrained. Particularly strong habits, wrote two researchers at the University of Michigan, produce addiction-like reactions so that wanting evolves into an obsessive craving that can force our brains into autopilot, even in the facing of strong dissenters, including loss of reputation, job, home, and family. However, these cravings don't have complete authority over us. As the next chapter explains, there are mechanisms that can help us ignore the temptations, but to overpower the habit, we must recognize which craving is driving the behavior. If we're not conscious of the anticipation, then we're like the shoppers who wander as if drawn by an unforeseen force into Cinnabon. To understand the power of cravings and creating habits, consider how exercise habits emerge. In 2002, researchers at New Mexico State University wanted to understand why people habitually exercise. They studied 266 individuals, most of whom worked out at least 3 times a week. What they found was that many of them had started running or lifting weights almost on a whim, or because they suddenly had free time or wanted to deal with unexpected stress in their lives. However, the reason they continued, why it became a habit, was because of a specific reward they started to crave. One group, 92% of people, said they habitually exercised because it made them feel good. They grew to expect and crave the endorphins and other neurochemicals that a workout provided. In another group, 67% of people said that working out gave them a sense of accomplishment. They had come to crave a regular sense of triumph from tracking their performances, and that self-reward was enough to make the physical activity into a habit. If you want to start running this morning, it's essential that you choose a simple cue like always lacing up your sneakers before breakfast or leaving your running clothes next to your bed, and a clear reward such as a midday treat, a sense of accomplishment from recording your miles, or the endorphin rush you get from a drug. But countless studies have shown that a cue and a reward on their own aren't enough for a new habit to last. Only when your brain starts expecting the reward, craving the endorphins or sense of accomplishment, will become automatic to lace up your jogging shoes each morning. The cue, in addition to triggering the routine, must also trigger a craving for the reward to continue. Let me ask you about a problem I have, I said to Wolfram Schultz. The neuroscientist, after explaining to me how cravings emerge. I have a 2-year-old, and when I'm home feeding him dinner, chicken nuggets and stuff like that, I reach over and eat one myself without thinking about it. It's a habit, and now I'm gaining weight. Everybody does that, Schultz says. He has 3 children of his own, all adults now. When they were young, he would pick at their dinners unthinkingly. In some ways, he told me, we're like the monkeys. When we see the chicken or fries on the table, our brains begin anticipating the food, even if we're not hungry. Our brains begin craving them. Frankly, I don't even like this kind of food, but suddenly it's hard to fight this urge. As soon as I eat it, I feel this rush of pleasure as the craving is satisfied. It's humiliating, but that's how habits work. I guess I should be thankful, he said, because the same process has let me create good habits. I work this hard because I expect pride from a discovery. I exercise because I feel good afterward. I just wish I could pick and choose better. After the disastrous interview with the Catwoman, Drake Stimpson's team at P&G started looking at the outside channels for help. They began reading up on experiments such as those conducted by Wolfram Schultz, They asked a Harvard Business School professor to conduct psychological tests of Febreze ads campaigns. They interviewed customer after customer looking for something that would give them a clue how to make Febreze a regular part of consumer lives. One day, they went to speak with a woman in a suburb near Scottsdale. She was in her 40s with 4 kids. Her house was clean, but not compulsively tidy. To the surprise of researchers, she loved Febreze. I use it every day, she told them. You do, Stimian said? The house didn't seem like the kind of place with smelly problems. There weren't any pets. No one smoked. How? What smells are you trying to get rid of? I don't really use it for specific smells, the woman said. I mean, I've got boys. They're going through puberty, and if I don't clean their rooms, it smells like a locker, but I don't really use it in that way. I use it for normal cleaning. A couple sprays when I'm done in the room. It's nice. It's a nice way to make everything smell good as a final touch. They asked if they could watch her clean the house in the bedroom. She made her bed. The bedroom. Are you listening? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Am I reading like can you still follow?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm down reading. Like, did you want to read?
You want to read these movies?
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. But if you want to, just tap me. If anything, you can read for like the last 2 laps. Or like one of them. They asked if they could watch her clean the house. In the bedroom, she made her bed, plumped the pillows, tightened the sheet corners, and then took a Febreze bottle and sprayed the smooth comforter. In the living room, she vacuumed, picked up the kids' shoes, straightened the coffee table, and sprayed Febreze on the freshly clean carpet. It's nice, she said. Spring feels like a little mini celebration. When I'm done with the room, it's nice, Spring feels like a little mini celebration when I'm done with the room. At the rate she was using Febreze, Stimian estimated, she would empty a bottle every 2 weeks. P&G had collected thousands of hours of videotape of people cleaning their homes over the years. When researchers got back to Cincinnati, some of them spent an evening looking through the tapes. The next morning, one of the scientists asked the Febreze team to join them in a conference. Side note, I think it's so sick that you see they're kind of like, my job is like a marketer, right? Mm-hmm. So their whole point is to try to get them more business, more customers, and get people to eventually buy what they have to sell. And I think this is cool because they're going in so in depth to basically get that product. They're bringing scientists from mad different schools for me, stuff like that. So it was really exciting. The next morning, one of the scientists asked the Febreze team to join him in a conference room. He queued up the tape of one woman, a 26-year-old with 3 children, making the bed. She smoothed the sheets and adjusted the pillow. Then she smiled and left the room. Did you see that? A researcher asked excitedly. He put on another clip. A younger brunette woman, colorful bedspread, straightened the pillow, and then smiled at her handiwork. There it is again, the researcher said. The next clip showed a woman in workout clothes tidying her kitchen and wiping the counter before easing to a relaxing stretch. The researcher looked at his colleagues. Do you see it, he asked. Each of them is doing something relaxing and happy when they finish cleaning, he said. We can build off of that. What if Febreze was something that happened at the end of the cleaning routine rather than at the beginning? What if it was the fun part of making something cleaner? Stimian's team ran one more test. Previously, the product's advertising had focused on eliminating bad smells. The company The company printed up new labels and showed open windows and gusts of fresh air. More perfume was added to the recipe so that instead of a merely neutralizing odors, Febreze had its own distinct scent. Television commercials were filmed of women spraying freshly made beds and spritzing just laundered clothing. The tagline had been, "Gets bad smells out of fabrics." It was rewritten as "Cleans life smells." Each change was designed to appeal to a specific daily cue: cleaning a room, making a bed, vacuuming a rug. In each one, Febreze was positioned as the reward, the nice smell that occurs at the end of a cleaning routine. Most important, each ad was calibrated to elicit a craving. The things that would smell as nice as they look when a cleaning ritual was done. The irony is that the product manufactured to destroy odors was transformed into the opposite. Instead of eliminating scents on dirty fabrics, it became an air freshener used as the finishing touch once things were already clean. When the researchers went back into consumers' home after the new ads aired and the redesigned bottles were given away, they found that some housewives in the test market had started craving the Febreze scent. One woman said that when her bottle ran dry, she squirted diluted perfume on her laundry. If I don't smell something nice at the end, it really doesn't seem clean now, she told them. The park ranger with the skunk problem sent this in the wrong direction, Stimian told me. She made us think that Febreze would succeed by providing a solution to a problem. But who wants to admit their house stinks? We were all looking at it wrong. Alright, so we can do one more because we're at 30. Okay? We're going to do 3 today.
Yay! Yay, I'm tired.
That means that one day we were really here for an hour. It's 15 minutes walking back and forth. Oh, sorry. When the researchers went back into consumers' homes after the new ads aired and the redesigned bottles were given away, they found that some of the okay, I already read that. One woman said that when her bottle ran dry, she squirted diluted perfume on her laundry. If I don't smell something nice at the end, it doesn't really seem clean to me. Nah, she told them. The park ranger with the skunk problem sent us in the wrong direction, Stimian told me. She made us think that Febreze would succeed by providing a solution to a problem. Who wants to admit their house stinks? We were looking at it all wrong. No one craves scentlessness. On the other hand, lots of people crave a nice smell after they spent 30 minutes cleaning. The Febreze relaunch took place in the summer of 1998. Within 2 months, sales doubled. Within a year, customers have spent more than $230 million on the product. Since then, Febreze has spawned dozens of spin-offs, air fresheners, candles, laundry detergents, and kitchen sprays. That all told now accounts for sales more than $1 billion per year. Eventually, P&G began mentioning to customers that in addition to smelling good, Febreze can also kill bad odors. Stimian was promoted and his team received their bonuses. The formula had worked. They found a simple and obvious cues. They had clearly redefined the reward. But only once they created a sense of craving, the desire to make everything smell as nice as it looked. Did Febreze become a hit? That craving is an essential part of the formula for creating new habits that Claude Hopkins, the Pepsodent ad man, never recognized. In his final years of life, Hopkins took to the lecture circuit. His talks on the laws of scientific advertising attracted thousands of people from stages. Hopkins took to the lecture circuit. In his final years of life, Hopkins took to the lecture circuit. His talks on the laws of scientific advertising attracted thousands of people from stages. He often compared himself to Thomas Edison and George Washington and spun out wild forecasts about the future. Flying automobiles featured prominently, but he never mentioned cravings or the neurological roots of the habit loop. After all, it would be another 70 years before the MIT scientists and Wolfram Schultz conducted their experiments. So how did Hopkins manage to build such a powerful toothbrushing habit without the benefit of those insights? Well, it turns out he actually did take advantage of the principles eventually discovered at MIT and inside the social laboratory, even if nobody knew it at the time. Hopkins' experiences with Pepsodent weren't quite as straightforward as he portrays them in his memoirs. Though he boasted that he discovered an amazing cue in tooth film and bragged that he was the first to offer consumers the clear reward of beautiful teeth, it turns out that Hopkins wasn't the originator of those tactics, not by a long shot. Consider, for instance, some of those advertisements for other toothpaste that filled magazines and newspapers even before Hopkins knew that Pepsodent existed. The ingredients of this preparation are especially intended to prevent deposits of tartar from accumulating around the necks of their teeth. Dr. Sheffield's cream of deference that predated Pepsodent cleaned that dirty layer. Your white enamel is only hidden by a coat of film. Read an advertisement that appeared while Hopkins was looking through his dental textbooks. Sonio toothpaste quickly restores the original whiteness by removing film. The charm of a lovely smile depends upon the beauty of your teeth, proclaimed the third eye. Beautiful, sitting, smooth teeth are often the center of a pretty girl's attractiveness. Sorry guys, I kind of just cut, which is fine because we've been walking for 30 minutes. As you can see, I'm actually going to jog my last rep back, so until the next book reading, thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate every single one of you that even took the time to listen. Please take this information and use it. You know, don't just listen to this, don't just play this in the background. Like, I'm loving this story, and if you haven't already gotten a copy of this book, please do. I mean, you can get it online and anywhere else, but until then.